Okay, let's get into this. Think about trying to make a phone call in a language you're still learning, or leaving a message.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? It's not just about the words themselves.
Exactly. It's the flow, the little nuances. It feels like a whole different world sometimes.
Absolutely. And simple things, like call me back or leave a message, they have their own specific grammar, their own sort of context.
In knowing how people actually use phones in that culture, that's just as vital as the vocabulary list.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing in this deep dive. We've got this language lesson material focused specifically on Indonesian phone calls, messages, etiquette, the whole deal.
Right. And our mission, using only this source material, is to pull out the key vocab, the essential phrases.
And maybe find something a bit surprising, a cultural point about how phone communication actually works there, according to these notes.
Yeah, the source has a sample dialogue, vocabulary list, some grammar points, and this specific cultural insight section. We're going to walk you through it all.
We'll find the most important bits for you to understand. Let's dive in.
All right, so the source material starts us off with a really short dialogue example. It's Roy's outgoing voicemail message. Whoa, outgoing message.
He says, Anda telah menghubungi Roy. Silakan tinggalkan pesan.
Which is basically, you've reached Roy, please leave a message. And then Ria calls and leaves her message.
Right. Ria replies, Hello, saya Ria. Mohon hubungi saya secepatnya. Nomor telepon saya 0812-1234-5566. Sampai nanti.
Hello, I'm Ria. Please contact me ASAP. My phone number is 0812-1234-5566. Until later. Simple enough.
But even in that short exchange, there's some core vocabulary the source pulls out for us.
Straight away, in Roy's message, we get Selamat. The source says it means please.
And then Ria uses Mohon, which the source also defines as to please or to request. So 2 ways to be polite right there.
She also uses hubungi. That means to reach or to contact.
And she wants him to do it secepatnya. That's as soon as possible.
Vital for leaving a message. She mentions her
Number, yeah.
And refers back to Roy's prompt, tinggalkan pesan, to leave a message, with pesan being the message itself.
And she wraps up with nanti, meaning later, sampai nanti, until later.
What's helpful is the source gives other examples for these words, not just from the phone call. It helps, nail down the meaning.
Exactly. Like for silakan, the source gives silakan minum tehnya.
Please drink the tea. Shows it's a general polite request, not just for phones.
And hubungi example. Mohon hubungi saya pada nomor ini. Please reach me at this number. Again, contact details.
For tinggalkan, beyond leaving a message, the source has tinggalkan nama dan nomor telepon Anda pada buku tamu.
Leave your name and phone number on the guest book. So leaving information, leaving an item, that makes sense.
And pesan, the source shows it's not just voicemail or phone messages. It gives di dalam gua kami menemukan pesan tersembunyi.
Inside the cave, we found a hidden message.
Okay.
And also, ada banyak pesan ketika kamu berikuti.
There were many messages when you took the leave of absence, so any kind of message, really. Then nanti shows up in mau kemana nanti.
Where do you want to go later? Simple enough.
And secepatnya in a practical context. Kirimkan dokumen ini secepatnya.
Send this document as soon as possible. Useful.
And finally, nomor in nomor 211, memenangkan lomba itu.
Number 211 wins the race. So these examples, all straight from the source, they really help flesh out how these words work.
Okay, that gives us a good base. Now, the source material goes a bit deeper into two specific verbs we just saw, menghubungi and tinggalkan. There's a whole section on their usage.
Yeah, these nuances are like super important for getting it right. Let's start with menghubungi.
The source breaks down its structure. The prefix mang, then the root hubung, which relates to relationship, and the suffix a.
Right, and the meaning, according to the source, is to reach, to contact, to get in touch with.
And here's a key point from the source.
Yes.
You can use menghubungi for contacting someone via email, fax, phone, text, even face-to-face. It's quite broad.
And the source makes a big deal of this, the object, the thing you're contacting has to be animate. A person, an organization, something alive.
Ah, okay. So you wouldn't menghubungi a building.
Exactly. And the source contrasts it with menelpon. That verb only means to contact by phone.
That's a really useful distinction. So menghubungi is general contact, but for animate things. The example the source gives is, saya sudah menghubungi polisi.
I already contacted the police. Police are people, so that fits the rule perfectly.
Makes sense. Okay, what about tinggalkan? We know it's to leave an item. What else does the source say?
Well, it points to the root word tingle, meaning to stay or to remain. The Pakan suffix adds causation.
So like to cause something to remain.
Pretty much. Or simply to leave something for someone. But here's the critical part the source highlights.
What's that?
You must use tinggalkan with an object, the thing being left. A message, a key, whatever.
Yeah.
And you cannot use it to say you're leaving a place. Like you wouldn't use tinggalkan to say, I'm leaving the house.
Oh, right. That's a common mistake to make, probably. So, how would you say you're leaving a place?
The source mentions using pergi, to go, or maybe mengalkan, which looks similar but functions differently here, meaning to leave a place. But definitely not tinggalkan with the kan.
Okay, so tinggalkan is specifically for leaving an item. The source examples back this up.
Yep. Silakan tinggalkan pesan, please leave a message. The object is pesan.
And the other one?
Tolong tinggalkan kunci di kotak surat saya. Please leave the key into my mailbox. The object is kunci, the key. It nails down that leave an item meaning.
That's super helpful. Getting those verb nuances right makes a huge difference.
Definitely. And building on that, the source has a grammar section with practical phone phrases. Stuff you can actually use.
Okay, let's look at these. First one, pretty standard. Halo, bisa bicara dengan Ria.
Which the source translates as, hello, may I speak to Ria?
And the breakdown.
Halo is hello, bisa is kame, bicar is speak, dengan is with. Literally, hello can speak with Ria. Basic but essential.
What about something more formal?
For that, the source gives, apakah ini kediaman Pak Amir?
Meaning, is this the residence of Mr. Amir?
Exactly. The source explains apakah starts a yes-no question. Ini is this. Kediaman is residence. And Pak is that respectful term for an older man. Very formal.
Okay, and if you dial the wrong number or someone dials you by mistake?
The source gives maaf salah sambung. It translates it as, sorry, I think you have the wrong number.
Let's break that down. Maaf is.
Sorry, salah is wrong. Sambung is connect.
So literally, sorry, wrong connect. Short and sweet.
Very. Now, what if the person you're calling isn't there?
What phrase does the source give for that?
Dia sedang pergi. Mau tinggalkan pesan.
Which means?
She is away at the moment. Do you want to leave a message?
Okay, breakdown.
Fies is hesha, sedang pergi means is currently away. Mau is want. And then tinggalkan pesan leave a message, using that verb we just discussed.
Literally, he, she at the moment away want leave message.
Pretty much. So these are the phrases related to maybe leaving a message. Useful stuff.
Yeah, seems practical. But then the source throws a curveball, doesn't it? In the cultural insight section.
It absolutely does. This is where it gets really interesting based on the source material. It states point blank, voicemail is not commonly used by Indonesian people.
Wow, okay. That's
Yeah.
quite different from what many of us might expect. Why not? What reasons does the source give?
It lists several specific reasons. First, not all mobile phones there even have the voicemail feature. It's not a given.
Okay, so basic access is an issue. What else?
Cost. The source mentions there's an extra charge, often associated with using voicemail services.
Cost is always a factor. Does it say anything about, like, the user experience?
Yes. It describes the actual process, leaving a message, retrieving a message, as being complicated and time-consuming.
Complicated and time-consuming, and you might be getting charged for that time, based on what you just said about cost.
Exactly. The source says users get charged phone credits during that complicated process.
So let me recap the source's points. It might not be available on your phone, it costs extra money, and it's apparently a hassle to use, costing you even more while you fumble with it.
You got it.
Yep.
So the source concludes it's just not seen as efficient or practical for most people there.
Okay, that makes sense. So if voicemail is out, what do people typically do, according to the source, if they call and no one answers or the line's busy?
The source is very clear on this. The preferred options are simple. Call back again later.
Just try again, okay? Or
leave a text message.
Texting. Makes sense. Does the source specify what kind of texting?
It does. It mentions standard SMS, regular text, but also the various free messaging apps that are popular.
Does it list any examples?
Yeah, it actually lists Line, WhatsApp, Kakao Talk, BBM, Skype, or even a Facebook message. Basically, whatever messaging platform people are using.
So knowing the Indonesian phrase for leave a message is good, but this cultural insight from the source is crucial. It tells you that in reality, you're probably better off just calling back or sending a quick text.
Precisely. It shows how the practicalities, cost, ease of use, what technology is common, really shape how people choose to communicate. Convenience wins out.
Right. So let's quickly summarize what we've pulled from the source material in our deep dive. We've got some foundational Indonesian words and phrases for phone calls and messages.
We've dug into the specific meanings and, importantly, the usage restrictions of verbs like menghubungi, remember, general contact, animate object, and tinggalkan, only for leaving an item.
And maybe most interestingly, we uncovered that key cultural point straight from the source. Voicemail isn't common in Indonesia.
Yeah, because of the reasons the source laid out. Cost, complexity, access. And that people usually just call back, or more often perhaps, send a text instead.
All this information taken directly from the source we examined should give you a much clearer, more practical picture of phone communication in that context.
Definitely. So here's a final thought, something to chew on, based only on what this source material suggests. If voicemail didn't catch on in Indonesia, largely because of cost and efficiency issues, according to the source, and simple texting or just calling back became the norm, what does that tell us more broadly about how practical factors drive communication habits everywhere? Does the tech always win, or does the simplest, cheapest solution often define how we interact?
And how might knowing this specific insight about Indonesia that texting or calling back is preferred over voicemail, change your very first action. If you needed to contact someone there, say tomorrow. Would you still try to leave a voicemail first? Something to think about.
Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe.